Hello guys. So I was asked why I was saying that Cassiel EE was kind of weird. So I'm just gonna go down his EE skills. Again, it's not that he's trash. I'm not gonna go to that point, especially because we're not gonna start comparing him to the old sellers, but there is a bit of inconsistency between his skills and, well, themselves and even his positioning. So first thing is his main position is center mid, yet his class is attacker. So right there's already a little issue there. He's never going to really be able to hold the center mid position, and if you put him there, it's an open front. So first thing is he's just never going to get that little bonus. You're going to put him on either of the sides. That's still okay because it's not that big of a difference, but it does hurt him just a little bit. I was hoping they'd maybe fix that when they were giving him an EE. Now, Ace, increase attack power and action speed of light players. A main and mono light that can be pretty damn good for a Vanchi, especially with the backline. Depends what you're running. This actually is pretty cool. I wouldn't even say no to it. Active, this is where stuff gets interesting. Penetrate, so that means he needs to be holding the ball. Increase attack power by 70% and recover action bar by 100%. Now, unless there's some form of debuff, I gotta admit that they say action bar by 100% is kind of annoying because some debuffs can lower this. Um, it is pretty good because in a way it is a form of super play. So, I mean, for an attacker, having super play is not bad. I do want to point out 15 minutes is maybe not the best. Maybe an active more like Malcolm would have been cool, but super play active, we're not really going to complain on that. Noble O, increase the attack power, reflex, and critical rate by 25%. Now, the first issue is, well, that's 5% less than the majority of people, but it's not even really there that the issue is going to hit. It's more he's an attacker. And being an attacker actually means that technique is your lowest value. And technique is reflex. So even if you're going on a reflex mid, he can't reflex ever. And he even has a line buff that buffs reflex, who he's never going to be able to use. He's not going to have an issue because he comes with counterattack resistance, enough to reach the cap in his own skills, who's really damn good. But you can't go reflex if you have reflexless player in your midline. It doesn't compute. So this is where it's already going to start causing a problem. He's reflexing, and for the units that do use reflex, a 5% difference in high league is going to actually be very noticeable. Attack power 25%, critical rate 25%. I mean, we can all work with this. Um, Increase attack power by 40% and reduce the damage received by 30% with an attack. Now, at least it's not with a penetration like some poor suckers have, or with a crit, meaning he acts, it's going to happen. So it's actually not that bad. It increases the attack power. It gives him a little bit of DR, not the highest amount, but again, it really does push towards the fact that he can't reflex and he's going to be easily penetrated. And Serenity 2, counterattack resistance and critical resistance at 60%. Now, I know a lot of people are going to talk to me about Ivy, so yes, he can reach usually 105%. If you have stones, maybe 120, 130. I do want to point out that the meta is basically Victoria and Duke in midline, so there's still a pretty damn good chance he will get critted. But in low leagues, if you're using him correctly and you're using Ivy correctly, you should be good. On the chain level, though, there should never be any that activate. Maybe Nemesis Bev, but usually people don't use her, and you could have used her, but you might be using her. There's nothing wrong with that. She is kind of underpowered currently, but it's not going to activate the chain. So really, where is the reason why I'm saying he has a little problem in his kit? It's not even a question of there not being a viable build for him. There are some, but the issue is he's a combination of kind of three different things. Because he's running counterattack resistance combined with the attacker class. I'm pretty damn sure that hits the current cap of 80% if I'm right. So you don't really need to re-roll him or give him a dark anything. So that's good in itself, I gotta say, because some attackers even need to be re-rolled. We think of good old Curl and FTS, and if you don't, you might have reflex issues, and there's a whole speech on that. So counterattack resistance is really good for an attacker. It complements his kit. Critical resistance, again, for an attacker, it's kind of weird. Especially since most midlines in the meta usually aim on critting. So I'm saying why not? If it was increase his own crit, I would have said it had much more value. Increase attack power and reduce the damage. Again, it's with an attack, so everything is really based on him attacking, because counterattack resistance is nice, but it doesn't change anything if you're getting attacked. Um, Increase the attack power by 25%. Critical rate. Again, that does mean that at maxed out, since he's an attacker once again, crit is low. So he should be hitting the 70% if he's lucky. Subs maybe 80%. People have crit Ardor reflex stones. Chances of him critting are going to go down. If they have a Seresti, if they got an Alice, it's GG. He's never going to be critting, who's what I honestly would have liked to see in Serenity too. But the big issue is that his kit could pretty well fit in the attacker, passer, attacker midline, but at the same time, it has some elements that don't really buff it, and vice versa. He can't really fit in the reflex war midline because, as much as he does buff reflex, reflex on him is meaningless, making him an open door, who is pretty much what my problem with him is. And to top it all off, he doesn't have any critical or speed buffs in his kit, who is honestly what he would need to be truly good. So, however you might stone him, well, I'm honestly gonna say don't try to go critical rate wise, don't try to go critical damage wise. Well, you need to crit for that again. And what you're going to want to do is really aim. In his case, he's powerful when he's attacking. We can all agree on that. Through this skill, through his active, even counterattack resistance is pretty good. Again, it's not on attack, so stealing from him is hard, but the thing is, he'll have no DR when being stolen upon, so he's going to die either way. So it's not that big a deal. Maybe he'll survive one hit. Again, he's an attacker. Vitality, not that high of a stat. You can see the difference between power and vitality. It's kind of big. You know, if you test out more multipliers you add up, more you're gonna face it. And on top of it, this is midline. It's not like you're actually gonna be buffing it. Now, a cool idea of the way to build him, I have seen a few people use him. They're more using him for COT. There's some very interesting comps that have actually been run with him. The idea would more be to really maximize just on the fact he's an attacker. To do this, you would usually run a Will of Metatron. The main idea behind this is going to be to buff as much action bar as possible. So you'll be running a Will of Metatron, you're going to be running a Thunder Penetration, and then it's really going to be up to you what you want on the last stone. Some people try to run a Thunder Crit because they got some good subs for it to generate Spirit. Other things can be run too. It's really going to be up to you for that slot. Or on the opposite, what you could run is you could run the Light Dribble Stone to give him a little bit of sustain. You could give him the Wormwind Stone that increases speed, called Calm Icicle. It also increases attack power with great synergy, and a Thunder Pen Stone. Now, for the Prime slot, again, we're really going to aim for him to act fast. So anything that either gives him speed or action bar, again, Thunder Pen is just good because penetration is pretty good in this meta. There's no penetration resistant midlines. So it is clear damage value added. It cannot be blocked. So running 2 Thunder Penetration Stones on his kit between the action bar and a penetration alone are going to be pretty good. So I would really advise trying to go towards them. Now, for anyone who wants to go reflex-wise, I just want to point out this is his technique value. Go check that on Duke. Go check that on Victoria. Go check that on Metatron, and you will understand the exact problem. And that is why I think there's an issue. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I don't think he should be able to go into meta. Now, if you're mono light, and this is the specific exception, I do think you could honestly try to run him if you don't own both legends. Of course, we all know in mono light, the ideal mid should basically be something in the idea of Duke, Sammy, Beth, and other things can be run. They just don't tend to be as efficient. So I hope this helps people understand why I personally consider Cassiel's kit is not the best, but I do like in a way that they still did give him some reflex. If there was an extra 5%, I think I would have less issues with it, but it's more an issue with his class clashing with certain of his kills. Have a good day, guys.